All right, it's the Brian and Kendra Show. Thanks for listening. We are going to be learning some new stuff today, I hope.
Okay,
we've been around, but go ahead.
Does it look obvious that we're in a new place?
No. Except for the sign behind me.
Yeah, because we've advanced our location.
We have. We have moved.
You guys don't even know how hard it is for me to say it like that. I mean, that cheese factor was even more than I could handle. All right, so I do want to say that, though, because we've got some new digs.
We've moved.
We like to move to know what our buyers go through.
That's right. My wife won't let me, and so I have to move everybody else around me.
So it's a little chaotic. And bless his heart, Nathan has been like busting it this morning to try to get this part all ready again because we were a little bit delayed in our move, and we had a visitor today, so we couldn't just reschedule. Right. So we have Kammie McAbee.
Yes. Hi, thanks for having us.
And I just forgot your appraisal company's name.
It's Elizabeth Real Estate Appraisal Company.
Elizabeth Real Estate Appraisal Company. It's not connecting for me.
It's a little long. It's a little longer than I intended to. We were hoping I could pull some other stuff into it at one point in time. Still hope we can.
Well, I bet you can. So thank you for joining us. We want to talk about appraisals today. I wanted to get a little bit of the fun stuff out of the way first. Okay. So we went to adult prom this weekend.
Was that fun?
It was all right. It was kind of fun to I thought, I'm not really a dress-up kind of girl. But I thought, well, and then it really got kind of fun.
Because you don't get to do that too often out in Western Oklahoma. So.
I texted Raquel Raising. She's one of our friends and one of our customers. But she has just got a huge heart for Circle of Care, which was the fundraiser, the beneficiary of the fundraiser. I don't even, just forget the words. Y'all know what I'm saying.
I do.
Okay, so she and I were texting before, and I said, I feel like I'm 17. I started getting ready 2 hours early and all this stuff. And then I realized when I was 17, I didn't have all this silver glitter hair. It totally ruined everything for me. But it was kind of cracking me up. It was fun. But shout out.
Still pretty.
Thank you. I'll pay you later. A major shout out to the Woodward Conference Center. Is that right? I said it right, didn't I? Okay. Darcy out there is just this incredible rock star. I realized this whenever I just got married this summer, and so
congrats.
Thank you. So my husband and I decided that we would use that as our venue. We wanted to just have a very, very small family and the closest, the family. You know what I'm saying? The family. Mm-hmm. And so I had no idea what to expect. I am not a party planner, and bless her heart, she goes, "Okay, what are you going to do about this?" And I went, "Oh." What do you suggest? What do you think about this? Oh, bless her heart. I know she was like, this girl needs to get out more. She just does an amazing job with helping the people who are renting the venue to just get it done, make it look beautiful. And she is just energy and amazing and precious. And so I wanted to shout them out because it was great. It was the venue was nice, but she just handles everything and she's just really cool. So shout out Woodward Conference Center, Darcy, man, she's a go-getter. Yep.
That event turned out great this weekend.
It really did. It really did. I was really, really glad for them.
We couldn't find any excuse to not go. We tried 1,000 times, but once we got there, it was okay.
I started working on your wife for the next event.
Yes. Yeah. She kept running a fever all day long.
Bless her heart. Bless her heart. I'm going to give her your green credit card from the office so she can get some dresses. Okay. Speaking of your green credit card, how was your carrot cake?
Oh, man. It was good.
So Brian bought part of their fundraising was a silent auction and then a live auction. And Brian got a little excited.
I like some of those auctions.
He's very competitive. I don't know how well you know him, but he's got a competitive streak, and I think somebody across the room also did.
Yes.
So looked like a good carrot cake.
But then when we got done, we shared because he beat me on the other cake, and I beat him on this one, and then we shared them. So
wonderful. That's how it should be. All right, so that's fun. And I'm not even sure what's that, but be paying attention to the websites for the Woodward Conference Center and go to some of these events. They're really great. Mm-hmm. Woodward's not dead. We were talking about how this is a small market real estate. And small market doesn't mean nothing's going on. So real estate, how busy are you, Kammie?
I've been pretty busy and pretty consistent. And it's a little different right now with those interest rates. And
Yes.
so, but I still have people and they're refinancing, believe it or not.
It's impressive.
It is. I do think some of them are coming off of some of those balloon loans that they had.
Sure.
And then some of them they're needing to. And I had a guy tell me
Right.
the other day that he was just refinancing because he was trying to get a fixed rate. And I was like, man, that's a big deal right
yes.
now. And
Yes.
so I'm not sure what he was at, if he was dropping or if he knew he was fixing a raise. But I was like, I might get a
Right.
little bit busier with some of that coming through. But the good thing is I'm still staying busy. And I think
Yes.
quite a few other people are. And I think some of them are staying as busy as they want to be too. So
Well, there's always that. I mean, it's the same with buying and selling real estate as well as an agent. That realtors are as busy as they want to be. We talked with some students last week at the High Plains Technology Center, and that's exactly what we said. Like your income is really based on how much you work, and so if you're like, well, I just really need this, then you only work that.
right.
And so it's kind of a flexible job that you have.
Oh, it is. And that's one of the perks that I think a lot of people look into on this job. And I have a lot of people and they're like, oh, they work what they want to work and not very
It's not
much.
exactly like that.
And I was like, well, and I think it depends on your market too. Because
Yes,
there's some of
without a doubt.
those, rural appraisers and they work in those rural areas where there might not be a lot of houses going and
Right.
selling, but they're very knowledgeable of that area.
Mhm.
And that's how they want to be. And that's what they,
Yes.
they're proficient in that type of area. So,
Yes.
but
So I was just thinking, Kammie McAbee, that's a new name to our area. So I quizzed you a little bit before we began. You didn't grow up in Woodward. You relocated to Woodward.
correct. Yes. Yeah. I grew up down south of Elk City, actually, in a small town. Went to a small school, and my husband is from Elk City. And so when I met him, we kind of relocated, and we planned on staying there until something
Right.
brought something different for us. And he had a job opportunity up here, and I said, "Well, let's go." And so we came up here, and we moved away from family and came up here, and we didn't know anybody. And Rhett's very conversational. I don't know if y'all met him. So, anyways, he was
Anybody
great.
hasn't met him.
So he's great. And so he set us up with some friend groups, and we were in awe with the people up here. We were welcomed with open
Awesome.
arms and different churches and
Right.
different groups. And there were so many people from Elk City that was like, hey, I know this person up there. And sure enough, those people, they called us and they're like, if you need anything, let us know.
Oh, that's
and
wonderful.
so it was really great. It was
I
it was
love
great.
that.
So it was good.
I think that about Woodward, but I love Woodward, and I mean, I've mostly grown up here, and so it's so nice to hear that from a different perspective from somebody coming in, because sometimes things aren't really what you think they are.
Oh, and it was different. Like I said, moving away from family, that was our biggest
Yes,
thing. And
tough.
we only have one daughter, but it was hard to get away from them. And we still go
Mhm.
down there, and they come up here and see us. But
Wonderful.
it was an easier transition than I think most people would
Good.
say. So yeah, it was good.
Awesome. Well, we're glad that you're here. We talked earlier, but I want to bring this up again. Do you remember Taylor? You remember the dog?
Yes. How can you forget?
I forgot that was you until you brought it up a while ago. But we were just talking about the different things that can happen as an appraiser. So an appraiser's job, like you just interrupt me anytime you want, and I'll just let you go. But like you have to really get in the property. So you're inside. And in fact, what do you look at when you're there?
I do. So when I'm there, depending on the type of appraisal, if I'm
Sure.
there on the property, it's because I got to do a full appraisal where I need to be able to go inside the home. If there's any other structures on the property, I really need to be able to see those.
Right.
And that includes going to the backyard.
Mhm.
So looking at the house, I got to look at the condition of the home. I kind of need to look at the way it was built, what type of materials was the
Sure.
home built with. And I just got to do my data analysis of the property itself. And so sometimes that involves running into the pets
Okay.
or critters that are on the property. So
So I loved this. Like, I mean, I didn't love it for you, but I was like, this is the best story. I can't wait to share it. So you'd scheduled it in advance and said, I need to go back into this property. I need to be able to be in the backyard, yada, yada, yada. We called the seller. He said, yeah, not a problem. The dog won't be there. Brian had already been bit by the dog.
You got me.
And so when you got there that morning, you called and you said, hey, I'm in the middle of the backyard and the dog is here. And I think I'm okay if I go slow. Nope. Nope. If I don't move, I'm okay.
Yeah.
So I hung up and I said, Brian, you've got to go rescue her.
Yep.
And you can be bit.
When
Don't
she
let
told me
her
what
be
house
bit.
it was, I was like, oh my gosh.
He did get there fast, and he was on the way before you ever got off the phone with me. And I still don't know if you texted him or if you just were like holding up the phone for him at the office. But the worst part about that is I was not expecting that dog
No,
because
I'm
we were
so
told he was
sorry.
supposed to be gone, and it happens. And I walked away from that experience thinking, okay, what would you do differently? with
I know,
that?
right? Do you carry the stick or do you start carrying dog treats? I don't know.
I don't know either, but I wasn't expecting this puppy. And, most of the pets, I have respect for them. It's their home.
Sure, absolutely.
And they're just trying to protect it, or they don't know who I am.
Right.
And I have my tablet. I use a tablet. I don't use the paper and cardboard or the
Right.
clipboard anymore.
Right.
And so I've got that. Sometimes I've got my tape measure and you
Your
name
hands
it.
are
Yeah,
all
my
full,
hands
you're
are full.
juggling and the dog.
That's how it was that day. And that was just for a final. So normally I just kind of hop out
Right.
and get back in. And I actually took my phone that day because I was
Thank
like,
goodness.
always take your phone now. Don't ever not take your phone. And he just surprised me. I will say that.
Right.
So, and then I was trying to see his name. It was like, maybe if I put his name in there, he'll calm down, or she will. And I was like, oh, your name's Rocky. Okay.
Of course it is.
So it was an experience.
It's better
so.
than killer.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I'm glad you've got a good sense of humor about that, because it did. Man, I thought, oh gosh, no. But then I also knew this is going to be fun later.
It was funny afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you were so kind about it. I appreciated that. Okay, so you alluded a second ago that different appraisals require different types of inspections.
Mhm.
I want to say first that when I say the term inspection, it doesn't mean what a lot of buyers think it means.
Right.
You're not looking to make sure. I don't think you do. Correct me. I don't think you're going through and checking, are the sinks leaking, and
Nope.
what are you looking for? Because you're not doing a home inspection.
No, I'm not. That's what. So a lot of people, they kind of run those
Yes,
terms
yes.
together, and they're two totally different entities, different types of jobs. And so you reference the sink. So, I'm not checking to see if it's leaking, but if I'm opening up those cabinets, I want to check and see, oh, have you had previous leaks, or is it leaking now? And that can lead into, the condition that the home is in now.
Sure.
Different types of loans, depending on what the lender needs. If the lender specifically asks, hey, make note if there's leaking sinks, then, I need to
Right.
put that in there. And does that impact the marketability, or does that affect its value? And so, yes, we look for those things, but I'm not going through and checking every single thing like your
Right.
home inspector might be doing. So,
It's the 5 hours you spend in the kitchen mastering your famous recipe or spending quality time with your family. Other insurance companies may just see it as a house. It's not just a house, it's your home. Hi, I'm State Farm Agent Kevin Kanzler, and I see your home as the time and memories you put into them. I understand what your things really mean to you, and I'm here to help give them the protection they deserve. My office is located on the corner of 13th and Oklahoma and Woodward, or call me at 580-256-2216 for your home insurance today.
On Point Land Survey can take care of all your residential, commercial, and industrial survey needs. This family-owned and operated business proudly serves Northwest Oklahoma. These lifelong Northwest Oklahoma residents with over 22 years of experience are ready to serve you with the latest equipment and capable trucks to get your job done. Call On Point Land Survey today at 580-256-6757 or stop by 1918 Main Street in Woodward, Oklahoma, or visit their website at onpointlandsurveyok.com. Professional, trusted, local.
I think I wanted to establish that right off the bat. So what is an appraisal versus a home inspection? So we've talked recently about home inspections. We won't go into all that again. But a home inspector is really detailed, looking through very specific things around the home, checking outlets, checking lights, switches, all those different things. I don't think that you have to be that detailed.
no.
But the purpose of an appraisal versus a home inspection is totally different.
It
So
is.
what is the appraisal? What is the purpose?
So the appraisal, I wrote down some little definitions for everybody, just so so everybody kind of knew. But the appraisal itself is the act or process of developing an opinion of value,
Mhm.
and then the appraisal report is the communication of that opinion value to the client. In most cases, if I've got you guys involved, that's a lender, the bank.
Right.
And if it's just a refinance, that's still probably going through the lender. But I can do appraisals that's not through a lender. I can do them for attorneys or estate
Right.
purposes and things like that. And so it's important to know that up front who your client is, and that really determines what the problem is to be
Right.
solved and the scope of work that you're doing for the appraisal. So,
Okay, so that leads me into something else I hadn't even really considered. We mostly just see an appraisal for a residential purpose, a residential purchase purpose. So a lender puts out their little order to the vendor, you pick up the order, and those are where you are just going to appraise the property in the respect of a single family residence. Somebody's going to live there, not so much investment, all those different things. But you can value a property, like you can value one property in 3 different ways.
right. And so it really depends on what the problem is that your lender's asking. Are we doing this loan because it's for a purchase? Is it for a refinance? Is it for foreclosure purposes?
Right.
And so it's very important to know that and to be on the same page. So some of those vendors you're talking about, those are appraisal management companies. And so the lender, they go through those appraisal management companies, and then they send out what we call an engagement letter, and that goes to the appraiser. And it gives you the full rundown of what the lender is wanting and what they're expecting. And certain lenders have certain requirements that they require on the homes that they lend on. And so you got to read through those, make sure you're not missing some of those.
Right.
But that's that's kind of the basis on how it starts right there for our process. And once you figure out the problem, then you just keep going into it and work it from there.
Awesome. Okay, so this is one of my favorite questions. I told you this, and you're like, so vague. We often hear, like a buyer or a seller will tell us whenever we go to do a CMA, a comparative market analysis, which is nowhere near as detailed as what you do, but we have to establish some kind of a value
Right.
to begin to see where we could properly list a property so that it would sell in a timely fashion for what appears to be reasonable within the market. So when we go and we talk to a seller, and a seller goes, but I have this appraisal from way back when for this much money, and you're telling me now. So how long is an appraisal good for?
Well, that is a good question, and that answer varies. The most common response you're going to get from an appraiser is they're going to say no more than 12 months. And that's an answer that you get more often than not. That's because most of the time when you're working with lenders, they don't want to use comparable sales that are older than 12 months
Right.
old. So, that's kind of a timeline there. But honestly, it really just depends on your market. Is it a really volatile market right now where you've got prices going up and then dropping?
Right.
And if they are, if you had the appraisal at the high of the prices, going up, then that appraisal is good right there. But, 3 months down the road,
Right.
you might have a market that's going down. And so I know that's frustrating, and that's frustrating
It
to,
Right,
describe to some of those
absolutely.
borrowers that have paid for those loans, or even if they're not borrowers, but they just got one. But that's just the point of it. And
Right.
the appraisal is good for the effective date, so on that
Exactly.
day that we did it, this is what the market was doing. This is what we showed for our data that we had. And there's no way to tell if that's what it's going to be like in 3,
Right.
6, 9 months down the road. And so it's hard to answer that with a
is.
definite answer. So
And I think even within the scope of 12 months or 6 months or 3 months, then comes the pockets. Because this 1,300 square foot house may have had like 15 comps 3 months ago,
Oh,
but
yes.
it may not have any comps today.
and that's a
that's
huge factor.
tricky.
Yes. Yeah. And so when the height of COVID and everybody was selling, you had all these comps that you could use from. And
Right.
so, as an appraiser, that was great because we had all this data, and it was good data. And, it wasn't at a time where the supply was really low and you only had 5 houses sell for that month, And
Right.
so that makes a big effect on it too. And there's other things, not just the market, but what did your market area, did it change? Did the land
Right.
use change around your property? Did a pig farm go on next to your house?
Right.
Or is there a new development right next to it? And so those things can affect it too. And that's hard for some people to see, but they're not appraisers. They're not real estate
Right.
agents. They're not as knowledgeable at some of that. And I don't expect them to be.
Sure.
The lender doesn't.
No.
But that's what
Absolutely not.
It's nice to be able to understand and try to give those
Right.
people that understanding of why it can change like that.
So I had an example. So last week, I don't know, Wednesday, Thursday evening, I get a message from another appraisal. Hey, Kendra. And I'm like, what are you needing? Like, I just knew. And sure enough, he said, here's the deal. I'm working on this appraisal for a barn dominium. And he said, I can't find a single comp within the last 12 months. And I thought, oh my gosh, it's been exactly 12 months since we sold our last barn dough. And So I mean, I looked, do I even have the appraisal? No, I don't. So, but I found the appraiser that did that one. So I said, here, connect with him because I know that he'll have some idea. They connect with you
That's
too.
great. Yeah, using your peers to bring some ideas off of.
But I thought, oh my gosh, that's tough. And that's what we want. I just wish to goodness I could find how to really explain that well. When I moved to Woodward in 2008, I wanted to buy a little 10-acre tract of land. This is so funny now because I would be miserable if I had that little
Funny how
tract of
life
land.
changes,
Yeah,
huh?
but it's hilarious because over that 10 years, or I guess it's longer than that, 2008 is whenever that was. So I wanted to just put like a little cheapy tiny, I was just going to pull on a little single wide, and then we were going to build or pull on a nicer manufactured home later. I just really wanted, and it had like this perfect view of Woodward. I mean, it was, I was just dreaming.
And why not dream?
Why not?
You might get that.
Why not? And our lender talked us out of it because they said, one, because I was really leaning toward a manufactured home so I could do it quick, do it easy. She said, there are no comps. You will never be able to resell it. And I thought, well, then immediately we're selling all these manufactured homes. And Brian is like the king. Like for reals, if you need manufactured home comps, he's like, da, 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 da. It's crazy. And so then I was disappointed. And then I would see all these comps and I thought, well, because 6 months later, we did have a ton of nice manufactured homes that were selling. But then recently I did a CMA and I was like, there's not a comp to be had.
Or they're way down here in this price range and this square footage size. And then you have these way up here and you're like, there's no balance in between there for this.
One. Yeah, for real. So I think that that's something that it's just hard to understand unless you're in it. And sometimes you have to be in it for a season to be able to see, oh, well, we had him there, but we didn't have him here, but then we had him here again. That's a hard concept.
It is, and that's a lot of the appraisal process right there is going through that. And a lot of times if that's in your report, that's what the lender's looking for,
Right.
If they get it back and they're like, they only found one, what's that telling me about this market? And so they use that in some of their risk analysis when they're looking at things like that. And so, but that is hard for the homeowner to look at because, they're like, my home's well taken care of. I've been out here for 10 years. I haven't had any problems.
Right.
And now it comes up time you want to sell it. But,
Exactly.
It's that way sometimes. It really depends on the market.
It is. It does. Oh, and the markets can be so crazy. Okay. I had something. Oh, this was one of the things I wanted to address. Low appraisals. I know, are you in the hot seat right now?
Low appraisals. Yeah, a little bit. That's okay.
Well, because it's hard for a buyer to understand. This is what's really funny. A lot of times the people that panic the most are the buyer.
Right.
It's actually kind of the buyer's best interest if they can renegotiate to a lower contract price.
Yes, yeah.
But it panics everybody. It panics the agents. It panics the lender. Probably panics you.
It does.
It's not comfortable. It doesn't feel good at all.
It's not. So when that happens, we do the appraisal unbiased, objectively, and impartially, and we're not trying to hit a predetermined value. I'm not trying to hit that contract price, and we're trying to show you what the market is showing.
Sure.
So when it does come in low, it's kind of a ripple effect, and I think the appraisers, they're sympathetic to what's happening, or would it be maybe empathetic to that. And but that's our job to do the risk analysis and to come up with that value on it. And it sets in a whole new play for me because I'm like, okay, did I miss something? There was a realtor involved. What cells did they use? And it kind of goes back to, you may need to ask more questions and see what's there. But it does happen sometimes. And,
it does.
And where you said it's in the buyer's interest, that's how I think. I'm like, well, I just saved you from overpaying, X amount of dollars. But sometimes it happens, and I think what we're seeing right now is we still have some of those people trying to shoot off asking prices with the COVID, and they might get a cash buyer that might pay that, and then they might not. And that's hard to put that in the report sometimes because I'm like, I don't have any other houses that are even asking this up there, and, that's important to put into the report. And they look for some of that.
It is. It does get tricky. I mean, I don't know if this was on the same show we laughed about your dog experience or not, but like we had one recently that it was a great house. I mean, it was a great house. There were no comps. There were no comps. And so the value that we had come up with, we're like, this just seems so low. And it sold, I mean, it didn't make it to the market and it sold higher value. The appraiser called and goes, what in the world? We're like,
how did this happen?
We know, but I'm telling you, it's right. But just because we know it's right, just because the buyer knew it's right, just because the seller knew it's right, it wasn't something that could be proven on paper. And unfortunately, that's what the lender needs, is to prove on paper that the value of the contract is really the value of the house. And that's your job.
They need that. They need it to
Yeah.
be able to set forth and get that in motion for that loan.
Right.
They do.
We get it. Okay, so the follow-up question to that is, then I have buyers who go, oh, well, of course it came in right at the contract price.
Yeah.
But you
And,
just said that has no value.
I mean, we
It doesn't
do
have a bearing.
Nope, we don't. We don't have a predetermined value. If we did, then there wouldn't be a need for me, and we already have a free market, but everybody would be asking whatever price they'd want to ask for a property, and they'd be getting it. And there's no
Yes.
telling what other chaos that would involve. So,
I mean, we saw it.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
That is one of the things I never thought I'd see, but COVID did show us what happens if, wow, that just got, it didn't get as nuts here.
No.
That I have noticed that
We
there are
were a
some
little
areas.
bit calmer here.
Well,
A little bit.
yeah, and everybody saw some of those where they were like, "Oh, I'll never get that for it," and then you see it and it came through and closed, and you're like, "Whoa, how did
What
that?
in the
How did
world?"
that do that?" You know, and so it was a learning game for everybody.
Oh, my goodness. Wasn't it, though?
And then, of course, we have the ones with we just spent $47,000 worth of new windows in our house.
They're
That's
hoping
nice.
they can.
That's a really
they can
great
Add
buyer
that to the purchase
incentive.
price, sales price, and
Yeah, well, that happens sometimes too, or that barn that's out back, and
yeah.
they can tell you exactly what they paid for it 10 years ago, and yep. But you gotta have the data to show that, and so
Yep. So and that's we have a hard time with that as well, and proving value of a $47,000 window upgrade is you got to find somebody that knows what a window's worth.
you gotta have another house that had those same windows
Windows,
done,
yeah.
and
I
It
don't
had
know why
windows
we
before
don't
they
have
started.
those in Woodward.
Yeah, and it had windows when you started.
That's tricky, isn't it,
Yeah.
though?
Yeah.
Okay, here's what I really want to know, because I think this will help you, and it'll help us, and it'll help our buyers and sellers. How do we help you to have a more successful appraisal experience? What do you need? And I know I didn't give you this, so I am kind of just like, hey, have fun with this. Things like having an access to the attic. Give me some quick tips that just the things that are hardest for you whenever you're doing an appraisal so that we can help our sellers be more prepared.
yeah, just kind of tell them the process of what we need. Like, hey, they're gonna need access to the inside of the home, because I still have people say, "Oh, you have to come into the house." I'm like, "Yes, I do." Yeah, so have those areas ready. I have people tell me all the time, "Does my house have to be clean?" Well, I know you're living there. It doesn't have to be spotless, but I need to be able to see what the property is. So if you have your laundry all over your living room floor, I can't see what the living room floor looks like. So having the house picked up where we can see that. If you do have, attic access, like have that available if we need to get up there and see that. Have your utility closet where I can get in there and see your hot water heater, so I can see if those mechanical
Right.
systems have been updated, if they're original to when the home was built. The backyard, make sure it's mowed. So if you have a storm cellar that's down there, I can see it above the 2-foot tall grass, And so having it picked up and stuff, that is a big part of it. And then just communication. That's what, tell them if you have questions, ask me, I can ask them, or have those questions ready when I get there. And I'll answer as much as I can without having to refer them back to their lender or to their realtor. And so preparedness.
Thank you. I got us right up to the last second. Yes, but thank you so much for joining us. We really did appreciate
We
you
do
and
appreciate
appreciate
it.
all
We
your
love
thanks,
having
information.
thanks for having me.
Somebody local. It's good. Have
Yeah.
local people doing our appraisals.
It is. Well, I appreciate you guys a lot.
No problem.
Thank you.
Thanks again. It's the Brian and Kendra Show.
See you next time.